In addition to the candidates running for office, we have in the state of Florida, throughout the entire state, there is a proposed constitutional amendment that is on the ballot. Very odd that it's on the ballot in a primary. Typically, proposed constitutional amendments are on the ballot in the November election, but this in the general election, but this time it's on the ballot in the primary. There are, by the way, other uh, constitutional amendments that will be on the, or proposed constitutional amendments that will be on the ballot in November as well. This is a constitutional amendment to for tax exemption for solar equipment, and what this is actually titled, Florida Tax Exemption for Renewable Energy Measure, Amendment 4. The Florida Tax Exemption for Renewable Energy Measure, also known as Amendment 4, is on the August 30th, 2016 primary election ballot in Florida as a legislatively referred constitutional amendment. In other words, the legislature put it there. One of the sponsors of this amendment in the House is Representative Ray Rodriguez, who is one of the candidates that has taken a position to defend all innocent human life from from threats. And so he is pro-life without exception. Of course, this is a separate issue, but I just wanted to mention that. A vote for Amendment 4 supports providing tax exemption for solar power and other renewable energy equipment, included in home values, commercial property, and industrial properties for property taxes. A vote against Amendment 4 opposes providing additional tax exemption for renewable energy equipment beyond tax exemptions offered by the state currently. For an amendment to become enacted in Florida, it needs to pass with a 60% 60% of the vote. There is, by the way, another solar energy amendment that will be on the ballot in November, and we'll discuss that as well as the other ballot initiatives that'll be on the ballot in November later as we get closer to that election. So what this is designed to do, it was designed to exclude solar equipment from home property value calculations for the purposes of property taxes. Amendment 4 would also exempt energy devices in commercial and industrial properties from property tax valuation. Currently, state law already has this exemption for residences, but not for commercial and industrial. Tax exemption would begin in 2018 and continue for 20 years. And so, what we're talking about here is taxation, and we're talking about adding an exemption to property value for solar equipment. Now, typically, when we talk about tax exemption from property tax, we know, first of all, that property tax is unbiblical. Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 14, you shall not remove your neighbor's landmark, which the men of old have set in your inheritance, which you will inherit in the land that the Lord your God is giving you to possess. So when God brought the children of Israel into the land, he gave them property, and that property was supposed to pass down to their children, to their grandchildren, to their great-grandchildren, on and on and on. It was not supposed to change. And we know that property tax does violate this commandment this precept, because if you don't pay your property tax, the government will come and they'll take your land from you. And so typically, property tax is not something that is just. It's not something that is right. The government should acquire a different way of taxing its citizens and in raising revenues. However, we do have property tax in the state of Florida. Given property tax, we do have several exemptions that are already law, and some of those are even constitutional amendments. typically I oppose exemptions to property tax because what it does is when you have all these exemptions, it really reduces the tax burden of those who receive it, but not for everyone. Other people don't have those exemptions, and other people pay more. And so what you have is you have people that pay less and people that pay more. And even if the exemption would benefit me or someone I love, um, I typically will oppose those exemptions because, again, it creates different levels, and it creates different levels of taxation. And those who buy their homes at a higher price have to pay more in taxes. Those who don't have a homestead exemption have to pay more in taxes. What happens with this when people pay different taxes is that some people pay so little taxes that when they get their tax bill, they're like, oh, big deal. And typically what happens, I've gone to the city council meetings, I've gone to the state to the county meetings. By the way, if you look at your property tax bill, there you're going to have tons, probably about 40 different agencies that are taking money out of your pocket. And all of them, really a lot of times, well, it's only this much money and it's only this much money. But, you put all those together and they add up to a considerable amount of money. But when one person is paying, let's say, $800 for his entire property tax bill and another person is paying $5,000, well, the person that pays $5,000 obviously cares a little bit more about the amount of that tax than the person that pays $800. But I've been to these county commission meetings when they approve the tax, and I've spoken out against the tax and encourage the county commissioners to reduce their tax. I've gone to the city council members. I've gone to the school board. I've done this at various taxing entities. And by the way, it's physically impossible to go to all of those who are on your ballot. They have them at times that's inconvenient, times in the middle of the day, and they also have some of these are happening. Some of these hearings where they're deciding what the tax should be. Some of these hearings are happening simultaneously. So it's physically impossible, but even when you do go, there's only a few people that actually speak in opposition to the tax. I've been to meetings where maybe two people stand up and oppose the tax. And well, why is that? Well, one, people are busy, but another thing is, most of the people aren't paying very much in taxes. And so it's not a big enough deal for them. So typically I will oppose tax exemption. However, in this case, I am supporting this Amendment 4. And the reason I'm supporting Amendment 4 is that the cost of solar is expensive. In fact, for a home, you're looking at maybe $20,000 to $40,000 in the cost of solar. If you want to do your business, you're looking at, depending on the size of the business, maybe more money than that. When people install solar panels, they typically, if they're buying those solar panels in the state of Florida, they're going to pay they're going to pay sales tax. If they are having someone install those solar panels for them, they're also very likely buying the solar panels from that company, and they're going to pay taxes not only on the solar panels and the hardware, but also on the labor itself. So in addition to paying taxes for the installation, what the government here wants to do and what is required by law currently is to continue to raise the value of that property by the amount of money that was paid for that, and then to continue to collect property tax on that throughout the lifespan of the solar panels. And so you would be paying taxes on this every single year. Solar already costs a lot of money, and it takes years and years and years to recover. Solar power, in my opinion, is an important technology. This is something that it is important. Right now, we're using oil from countries that hate our guts. They're using that money to actually even fund terrorism. Some of those terrorists have actually even attacked our country and attacked our embassies. And we are continuing to give them our money because we need their oil to produce enough energy, because we don't produce enough energy in this country. So it's very important, I think, from a national defense standpoint, that we become energy independent, that we stop giving money to the bad guys over there that want to destroy us, that we stop giving them the money that they need to oppress their people and to fund terrorism, and that we become energy independent. It's difficult enough, and it takes years and years and years. And in fact, in some cases, the cost of solar can't even be recouped. And that'll probably change as more people adopt it. Again, they're still going to pay taxes on their property value. What we're talking about is the additional amount on the solar panels itself. And because of that, I am supporting Amendment 4